Hi, guys. Welcome back to another episode of Styles After Dark, a podcast where I want you guys to feel seen and heard every second of every day when you're listening to this episode and when you're listening to this podcast. If you're new here, hi, nice to meet you. I'm SofiaStyles. This is a podcast where I just kind of sit down, get vulnerable around the camera, and just share my life experiences. And whoever can relate, can relate. And whoever cannot, don't listen. Today's episode is going to be about change and getting uncomfortable and getting comfortable with getting uncomfortable, if that makes sense. Lately in my personal life, I have experienced a big change in my life. It was a huge decision for myself that I had to make in order to grow. And I think a lot of us can struggle with change. A lot of us can struggle with getting complacent in life. And it's really hard to let go of what you know in order to put yourself in a position that feels unknown, especially when you can't see how that choice or the outcome of that choice or decision is going to end up. Before we get started, you know, we have to do the drink of the week. That one was kind of light, nothing cray. Okay, so today's drink of the week is a iced coffee. I know it's not pop, it's not soda. I'm filming this early in the morning because your girl has a busy week coming up and priorities. Hello, we got to get the podcast up and running. And what I'm drinking is a honey vanilla latte with oat milk, extra sweet. Where are my people that like their coffee extra sweet? Like this video if you are a sweet coffee person. I want to go over two things because I just think it's hilarious. One, the fact that I'm all dressed up just to like sit in my bed and talk in front of the camera. Something was telling me, como se dice, I'm gonna show them what I can bring to the table. Also, I kind of just didn't want to plan this episode. I didn't want to like write an agenda. Like I wrote a little one in my notes. I feel like when it comes to planning things and being like so scheduled and planned, I just don't do good in any of those kinds of environments. I feel like I thrive with an unplanned episode, okay? When I just sit here and I'm just gonna ramble about whatever I want to, and then hopefully it comes out good. I don't know why I thrive in that. What trauma have I been through where like that is normalized? So, change and growth and getting uncomfortable. I recently had to make the decision of leaving a hair salon, my first ever hair salon. For those of you who don't know, I'm a hairstylist and I've been doing hair for almost 6 years. I started the salon I've been at the past 5 years straight after hair school. I think I had like 2 or 3 weeks in between before I started. And I'm a very loyal person. I am someone where I work somewhere, I really always respect my elders as far as like my boss, the person who's managing the place. I've always known and thought to myself, you know, if I'm going to work for someone, I need to respect them. I need to have a good relationship with them. And I say this because I feel like the reason we get comfortable in certain situations, work environments, um relationships is because we feel like we owe a certain amount of loyalty to the people around us, and that can kind of be sometimes the number one reason why we stay somewhere where we have outgrown that place or thing or person. I had to kind of, I guess, reflect on that. I feel like when I was deciding that, okay, I think it's time for me to move salons, that was the key factor. And it was just like, dang, like I feel like this is a pattern with myself. Whenever I've ever been scared of growth, scared of ending something that's definitely ran its course, I'm like, oh my gosh, like what about this person and what about what I owe them? And okay, people pleaser. And what about the memories and what are they going to think and how are they going to be affected by my decision to make for myself? And of course, there's other things like how scary it can be not knowing the outcome of putting yourself in a very new, familiar place. I had to take a look at myself and be like, am I applying myself anymore being in this salon? And I just want to say before getting into it, this salon is amazing. My colleagues are amazing. Nothing has to do with the place, the people, the owners, nothing like that. This is genuinely about me and the decision for myself and having to push myself to be my best self always in life. And I never want to be the person that gets comfortable. I always preach this. I'm always trying to learn. I'm always trying to evolve and grow and change. And I think for a long time, that was one of my biggest fears was like change and growth. It was a few things. One, I feel like I started to lose my spark. And this really goes for all things. You can lose your sparkle or whatever in relationships. I feel like when you're with certain people, it can dim you, like dim your light kind of thing. When you're at the wrong job, it can really make you lose inspiration for what you do, for what you love. Like, remember, have you guys ever started something new and exciting and like you just have all this motivation, all this excitement and energy to just put all of that energy into it, and you're like go go go, and it's just amazing, and it's this new chapter. And over time, if you start to outgrow that thing or place or person, you kind of start to go like this, and you can start to become negative and not be as inspired or all these things. But I don't want to get people confused with lack of motivation versus outgrowing something, because there's a difference between getting lazy and you need to do the work of like asking yourself, okay, am I just getting comfortable with my friendship relationship, or like am I just in a funk? Am I Could I apply myself better? Like, is this actually the correct thing for me? Because of course I was asking myself those things. I would say when it comes to big decisions, I like to be logical and use logic, and I never want to make a really sorry guys, I'm not the person who makes irrational quick decisions. Okay. I'm actually so scared of doing that. So I do the opposite and I actually think things through. I'm like, okay, it's, except when it's about shopping. But in these cases, they really can affect your life. And I'm really heavy on the choices you make will affect your future. So in this position, I'm we're locked in. Okay. I'm always thinking, are you being lazy? I would say I'm pretty much a hard worker. And I think, especially if you're someone who you're all into something, you give it your best and that goes away, it could be a sign of outgrowing something. I think what's weird is I started to lose my passion for hair. People typically sometimes when they're unhappy somewhere, or your coworkers are negative, or you're even with a friend who's like really draining you and being super negative, you have that friendship or relationship where you're fighting more than you're having happy times. It affects us when we're not happy in an environment, and we're losing our sparkle. We start to project. I feel like projection is so big because it can really show what areas, one, you need to work on, or two, areas it kind of tells you the truth on like what you're really feeling in here, in your mind, body, and soul. I feel like when you first start something, there's a reason why you're so happy, why you're so inspired. Yes, because it's new, but at the same time, it lasts a long time. And I'm not saying obviously you're going to get comfortable. It's not going to be like not every day is going to be like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so excited and this is so freaking amazing and perfect sunshines and rainbows." But for the most part, you'll be happy and you'll feel like what you have going is just so amazing. And I feel like things should be that way. So I remember when I first started doing hair, and especially when I first started in the salon, there are promises that I have made to myself. And I don't know if anyone else does that. Like, I told myself I'll never stop learning, I'll never stop taking classes as a hairstylist, I'll never stop. And then like, I don't know if you guys see this when you're at work or even with your parents. Even when we were younger, we would say things like, "Oh, I'll never do that thing that my mom does that I hate so much because she doesn't see that it's wrong, but I do." And like we tell ourselves like we're not going to grow up like our parents because we can see that in a way they've just like gotten stuck in their ways. That's just an example. And then I guess like when I got into the beauty industry, I was like, "No, I'm not going to get complacent, stop growing, and I don't want to be one of those hairstylists that stops taking classes even if I've taken so many classes, even if I have like mastered so many things. I think it's just important as human beings to keep evolving and to keep making sure that like we're still learning. It's really just that simple. And even in therapy, like they say, you're never fully healed. You're always going to be working. Once you think you've healed something, here comes another thing. And even then, sometimes we could think that we're fully healed, but boom, there comes randomly something just triggers us, and we're right back. I don't want to say we're right back to square one, but like it takes you back a little bit. So I think the past couple of months, when I became aware of losing my spark and getting complacent, I started reminding myself of like, how am I holding myself accountable to who I said I would be in this industry? And once I found myself saying things, and this might be you just in a different situation, you kind of start to project things like I started saying to myself like, "Oh, like our classes, hair classes even like that important? Like I feel like I have learned a lot. Like I probably don't need to take that hair class because I already know how to do a balayage. Like, what am I going to learn from it?" And oh my God, I was disgusted with myself when I became aware. I was like, that's honestly me projecting and showing myself that I have gone to a point where I think I don't need to grow. I really do think it's important when a comment or thought is made like that to be aware of it, because I hear people all the time kind of complaining or just being like, "Oh, like I don't need to do that." I don't know. I just feel like less effort gets put, and this can be with anything. We just become the know-it-alls. We're like, "Oh, eh." It's like an ego almost, but it's not really the ego. It's a clear sign that you have lost any ambition to be better. The minute that we think that we can't learn even just one thing from someone or a class or our partner or our friend, that's the minute we become closed-minded. And the minute that people just start getting stuck in their ways, thinking there's nothing better, there's nothing, they have to evolve. And I don't know about y'all, I'm not trying to be that person. I'm just not. That's not who I am. But if you are, that's cool with me. I've had experiences where I've tried to convince myself like the situation or the relationship I'm in is still good for me. And I'm here to say, stop lying to yourself. I don't know how to say this. I feel like the way I'm going to say this is really wrong. But if you're not walking on eggshells, like if you're not tiptoeing, I feel like there has to be a sense of fright, a sense of being scared when you're in something, knowing you have something really good. That's what's going to keep you pushing your limits and making sure that you apply yourself more and more, because when you're uncomfortable and when you know that there is a lot to lose, there's pressure. and you apply yourself more. You're comfortable in a relationship when you're not scared of like losing that person, and you almost like don't even put any more effort. You don't try to like do special things or go out of your way because you just know it's still going to be there. And honestly, that's kind of how I felt at my hair salon. Again, nothing against the salon itself. It's amazing, it's beautiful, it's a great salon, but my time was up, which is sad because it was just such an amazing place and I was just so happy there for so long and I was always growing, but it just got to a place of like, oh shoot, no, the universe is telling me it's time for something new. If you find yourself in a position where you're not trying your best anymore, you're not feeling your best, if you're not scared for the change, for the jump, in a way, that can mean wherever you're at is still like a good thing. It wouldn't scare you because you're not too comfortable. I read a book one time. It's like How to Think Like a Monk. And it was actually a book that taught me that we take fear as a sign of weakness. We take fear as something negative almost. When he was writing about fear in his book, he made it a really positive thing. And I remember he made it seem like fear is actually a good sign from our brain, from our bodies, to like try and discover what it is that's scaring us. Analyze like what it is about that thing that fears us to see how we can unfear it. So now when I'm scared of something, whatever that thing is, I actually try to attack it in a way. Like, for example, my podcast. My podcast was something I got really scared to do. It was something new to me. It was something I didn't know if I was going to be good at. Putting yourself out on the internet is scary. And even sometimes when I upload videos, like it's still like a fear, like is someone going to think this about it? And it's a constant reminder to debate that fear. But why? Why am I scared? If we let fear win, we're really robbing ourselves from our potential best selves. Leaving my hair salon after 5 years, the thought of that was really scary. And the thought of working in a whole new environment and new people that I don't know, I'm not familiar with. There was so many things that could go wrong. We're so scared to leave what we know. I've never heard someone take the jump or go against what they fear and like you'll fail possibly. There will be some failures because you have to learn and you have to grow. If you keep going, the outcome is always better. The outcome, you only come out better. Honestly, I actually even remember even moving into my apartment by myself, all alone. I have never lived alone. And I remember telling myself, I make enough money to support myself. I'm in my career. I have a good job. And everyone was telling me, you need to live on your own. You need to live on your own. This is what you need to do. Because at the time, I wasn't living in the best place. I was not in a good environment. And all my loved ones were pushing me to that next chapter of my life. And everyone knew I could do it but myself. And I was holding myself back. I remember I was like, no, like it's like I'm not gonna have enough money. Like I can't do it. Like you guys don't know me. You guys don't know me. You don't know if I can make it. You don't know if I can make it out of here. You don't. I moved out. I came into my own place and here I am a year and a half later, thriving, making it. And I believe when you make sacrifices, I believe when you take risk, the universe and God grants you bliss, grants you rewards. Like the God will grant you a reward for just pushing yourself. I feel like we always know. I'm a firm believer now that I've done the work to like trust my gut and have enough experiences where I was like, oh my gosh, I knew it all along. Like, have you ever had that aha moment, like after a crappy friendship ends, or like when someone, like something gave you anxiety, or you just had like a gut feeling that someone was going to say something to you, or you had a gut feeling like a situation was going to go the way it ended up going, but you didn't know it was just that gut feeling. And then it happens and you're like, I should have trusted myself. A lot of us, including myself, like to turn a blind eye, and we like to tell ourselves that, like, we just kind of like to shush it away. And if you just apply yourself and you just get uncomfortable for a little bit, eventually you're going to be in such a way better spot. Understand, it's like the human philosophy. Bro, I just be saying shit. I just be saying shit. Like philosophy, like, is that even the right term? I don't care. I don't know, and I don't care. I feel like a breath of fresh air. I'm so proud of myself, and you should feel so proud of yourself too if you've tested your limits and put yourself in an uncomfortable position, not knowing the outcome. Months down the line, maybe a year down the line, I'm going to thank myself, and I'm just going to continue to do the same thing over and over again with anything in my life. And you should too. That wraps up what I have to say. Remember to always be learning, growing, and changing and evolving. I hope you guys learned a thing or two from this episode. Thank you always for listening, tuning in, supporting Styles After Dark. My social links will be down in the description below. Until the next episode, remember I upload episodes every other Wednesday. And yeah, I'm excited. I'll keep you guys updated. Love you guys. Bye. Mwah.